Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of the Jokes by Jay podcast. I am very excited to talk to you guys today because I've had a week from hell, and I'm going to use this opportunity as my chance to vent. So let's go back to last weekend, a week ago. Today, actually, we had a little bit of a situation in my house. So my husband was at work on Friday. On, I don't know, Friday night or Saturday or something, he found out that someone that he worked with has COVID. Okay, great, fine. My husband has no symptoms. He feels great. However, Sunday morning, he decides he is going to take a test just in case, because we were supposed to meet with some people that afternoon and we had something else to go to, and he just wanted to be safe. Very nice of him. The test is positive. And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, what? So, of course, there's false positives all the time. He has no symptoms. This is very weird. We get another test, different brand, positive so quickly that the positive line looks like a Sharpie and shows up before the control line even shows up, like the second line that tells you that you did the test right, which eventually, by the way, came up just fine. So I'm like, cool, get the fuck away from me. And he ends up like isolating from the whole entire household, which is me, my 2 kids, right? I have to call the nanny and I have to tell her what's going on. She doesn't come in. I have to stay home from work because I'm with the 2 kids. And I'm very fortunate that I am married to someone who is so helpful when it comes to our kids, that we kind of like divide and conquer. So like at night I do the baby's bedtime and he does my 6-year-old daughter's bedtime. And so I don't have that help. He doesn't like, and he does so much. Like there's other things he does too. Like he'll help me with dishes or the kitchen or like setting up the coffee for the next day, loading the dishwasher, like little things like that. They're not little things, they're big things to me, but like, so that we can like have a night that we don't end off on midnight doing house shit. You know, we could actually sit down and watch a movie or do something, all out the window the entire week. And he's in, so we have this like back room to our house, we call it the den, and it has like closed glass doors. So I see him through the glass, just like sitting on the couch, you know, and I'm like hauling ass around the house with the kids. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, and cause he's like looking at the TV. I can't see the TV, but I see him like really into like whatever's happening. And I'm like, what's happening? And he's like, oh, there's this new streaming service that I found out about called Shudder. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like Shudder, like scared, like SHUDDER. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, it's really cool because it's all scary movies. And we really like scary movies. And so I'm like, okay, that's great. Not understanding, are you just having a good time? You're watching scary, like what are we doing? And so he works in for, you know, he owns a production company and he works in film. And so he's like, this is like for work. Like I'm like, what do you mean it's for work? He's like, I'm watching a documentary on like the history of horror. And I'm like, okay. So I'm in the house and I'm seeing him just like sitting there and he can't really do anything. I get it. But inside I'm like, dude, you're going to see the future of fucking horror when I murder you, because I'm just like hauling ass in here. And the baby's like, whatever. And also, by the way, I have an awesome baby. So I'm not trying to be, I'm going to complain. It doesn't matter. The baby's like, needs something. My daughter's like, Mom, can I have some really ice cold water? And I'm like, can you get up and get the water? Like, what is this? Like, she's just ordering me around. Right. And I work full time, by the way. Like, so I actually am involved. My hand is in some form, way, shape, or form in 5 different companies. I work full time. I leave my house at 9 a.m. I don't get home till 7 p.m. I have 2 kids. I have, you know, a life outside of those things. So to say I'm busy is a little bit of an understatement, but I'm not used to this. I'm not used to being home. Like the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, I'm with my kids all the time. It's like, I'm lucky if I get a shower. I'm one of those moms on Saturday and Sunday. But Monday through Friday, I'm not. And so this starts on Sunday and it's fucking Wednesday and I'm still doing the weekend gig all of those days. And I'm like, okay, right? So then, you know, and he's testing every day. I'm like, you're still going to be like, stop it. And we're testing every day. And thank God we're negative, right? So now, right now, we're in day 6 because the first day is considered day 0. Okay. And tonight I'm like, dude, I got to do my podcast. I have like shit I got to do. I need help. Right. So he hasn't been able to do bedtimes or nothing. Right. And at this point also, like, we're going off like CDC and they say, okay, so right now, like the current guideline is like, if you have it, you know, and you have symptoms, you should isolate. If you don't have symptoms, you should wear a mask for 10 days, basically, is the thing, right? But we had him isolate anyway, because it's a whole, like, you guys know, like the things you got to do when it's COVID is a whole thing. You know, you have to like, you can't go to, like, for us, like, I can't go to work. I work in a dental office. Like, I'm not going to go to work with COVID. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something we would do. We're not going to be out and about with people having it. So, and we don't want the kids to get, it's a whole thing. So he's like isolated. Today, I'm like, you know what? It's fucking day 6 and put a goddamn mask on and put your daughter to bed. So he's standing in the doorway of her room with a mask on, and she's reading her own fucking bedtime story. And she's like, I don't know this word. And then he's like, spell it. And so she's spelling the word it was a fucking nightmare. So anyway, I've had a week, right? Not to mention then I go back to work on Thursday, 2 days left of the week, with all of the shit really to do, because there's very little I could do. I could work remotely on a lot of these things, but there's very little I can do when I'm handling the 2 kids all day. So I'm like, okay, so Thursday I walk in and I have like a laundry list of things to do, which I am happy and gladly moving through this like insane battle plan of like the list of the tasks of shit I have to do that day, right? Fine, whatever. I get through the week, which was 2 days, and of like my work week. And then this weekend, I'm like, dude, I'm just over this. I need some help. I get it. Like, but can we just stay, you know, from a distance, you know what I mean? But then we're like talking and we're like, my mom wanted to come over today. She didn't come over because she's like, still has not had COVID, which is amazing to me because my mom, as much as I love her, has everything always. Like, she's a little bit, I know she listens to this podcast and I love you for that, Mom, but you have to know by now that you are a hypochondriac. I love you, but I'm just saying that's what you are. And so it's shocking to me that you have not had COVID yet. I hope you never get it, but that's fine. Anyway, she doesn't want to come by, obviously, right? Because it's in the house and we're Lysoling things and doing the best we can to, but I understand. So I suggested, why don't you come and we'll sit outside? That was going to be the plan. Then there was a little bit of like well, I don't know, because I'm very scared I'm going to get COVID. I'm like, okay, well, if you're terrified, just wait till next weekend. It's fine. By next weekend, we're 2 weeks out. My daughter and I are going to continue to test. No, I'm not testing my 10-month-old baby. I'm sorry. Go F yourselves. I'm not doing that. And if we're good, then come next weekend. So she's like, okay, I'm just going to do that. I'm sorry, Jay. I'm like, Mom, don't be sorry. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. I'm strawless tonight. I'm just going to sip the tea. So anyway, she decides she's not going to come. I'm like, fine. And my day has just been like the continuation of the shit show from a week ago, basically, right? So that's kind of my week. I have zero idea on what the weight situation is currently. I don't know how much I've gained because that's probably what's happened, I'm assuming. I did weigh myself at one point during the week and it said I was up like 2 pounds. And I'm like, what? Go fuck. Okay, the scale must be broken. So I don't know. I have no information that's accurate to report on the weight. On checking in on Jay's weigh-in of this body. I have no idea what's going on. So we'll save that. So that's been like the week, right? My sister was supposed to come by on Monday night, actually, to film her episode of the podcast where she was going to be a guest, but she rescheduled for next week, which is actually great because I would have had to cancel on her anyway because of COVID. So she hopefully will be in the next episode you see after this one. And I wanted to get a little bit into just a little tidbits about her because I'm sure once she's on, it's going to be like an hour long and she's going to be talking. She keeps, again, texting me like she's producing the show. I want to tell a story and I want to and da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. You'll have the fucking floor. Don't worry about it, okay? Also, I'm hosting the show. So just as an FYI, you talk when I ask you something. And here's the thing, guys, I'm going to tell you right now. I love my sister, but she will tell you a story and you're going to experience this. And I apologize in advance for any of those who stick with the entire episode next time that she's on and watch the whole thing or listen to the whole thing. She will tell a story And any normal person would take 5 to 7 minutes to tell the same story. This bitch will take 25 minutes to tell you and give you details that have nothing to do with the outcome or point. So just a heads up on that. So my sister and I are 8.5 years apart. We have different dads. Okay. I'm 8.5 years older than she is. And very much our relationship has been like, I'm the mom and she's the kid. It's always just kind of been this weird dynamic, and I feel like recently, and when I say recently, I mean like within the last couple of years, it's been more of a sister relationship and less of that, but it's still not quite like what I see with other sisters that are like best friends. They do everything together. Like I'm kind of the person that she'll reach out to when she needs help, which I love. Like I feel like that is a big sister thing. She should be doing that, or advice, which is also awesome, except for the fact that she never fucking takes it. So I have learned my lesson with that. I give her advice. I think it's pretty good advice. It's usually because I've been through a similar situation. She takes zero of my advice and it just becomes a wasted conversation. So that's very cool. But when we were young, okay, so imagine I'm 8.5 years old. My mom tells me she's pregnant and I'm 8 years old, and it's with my stepdad at the time. I was not happy about it. I remember feeling like, okay, well, you're already like, she was already married to this guy who I loved at the time, by the way. But then I was like, okay, there's going to be like a new baby in the house. And I was happy for my mom because I remember her telling me, I remember exactly where I was standing. I was in the kitchen. She was at the sink and she looked down at me and she had her hand on her belly and she's like, Mommy's going to have a baby. And I was like, wow. And I remember it being like, I think she was 37, I think, when she'll probably correct me on this, when she got pregnant with my sister, which was a big deal at that time. I do remember that. And I remember wanting to be happy for her. So I kind of like, just kind of suppressed my not excitedness about it. And I was like, oh, it's going to be different because I was 8.5 years old. So I was used to being the only one, you know what I mean? And I didn't really care so much about having like, quote unquote broken home. Like I was totally fine with that. I loved having like 2 birthdays, 2 Christmases. Like that was all great for me. But this little baby comes. And I think I've told this story or something similar about it because I remember hating that my mom had this baby because when she had her, I could not go into the hospital room to see my mom because of my age or something. They wouldn't let like the visitors, whatever the rules were at that time. This is 1991, by the way. I couldn't go into the room and I fucking hated that. So my stepdad took me outside to the window because she had a window and she was on like a ground floor where I could see into her. And she's just like there holding her baby. And I remember that. I remember that image very well. And her big hair, and then I finally got in a couple days later to see her and to meet this baby, right? And so there is a photo of me somewhere. I have to find it. But the picture is literally I'm holding her and I'm like this. Like it, and I'm kind of holding her outward. Like it looks like if I just a slight turn of the wrist and she's just like, she's going to roll right onto the floor. Like it's awful. Right. So when she was like little and like crawling around and stuff, she would kind of like crawl after me everywhere. And now as a mom, like it's so sweet, right? Like, oh my God, how cute. At that time, I was like, this fucking annoying. She's like an ankle biting dog. Like she's like get away from me. I was a horrible kid. I wasn't a horrible kid. I was an asshole. So, that it was a weird dynamic from the beginning. But then when I was 18 and she was 10, we had a pretty traumatic event happen for us with regard to her dad, my stepdad, that I will leave for another time because that story will be its own episode of this podcast because it will take a while to get through. But it ended in my mom no longer being with him and a violently drastic change to my mom's lifestyle and her having to be a single mom again because she was with me for the first 5 years of my life until she met my stepfather. And that was really rough. And at that time, I had the choice of being with them and helping my mom or being with my boyfriend at the time and living with him. And like the asshole that I was, I chose to be with my boyfriend at that time. And so my sister and I, she's 10, and there was a very short period of time where I kind of took care of her at that time because my mom was having a hard time with what was going on. And then when my mom came back and, and was like, roaring and ready to go, I was like, I'm out of here. Right. It was a shitty thing to do as a kid, but I was 18 and I guess I wasn't a kid, but whatever. It was a shitty thing to do as a young adult. So moving along, me and my sister we have this little bond that we have for a few months, and then I go off into the sunset. And so we don't really talk as much, So she's growing up and going through life as a 10-year-old, and however long that goes on for. And I go from the boyfriend that I had left home for to another guy, dabbled in a little bit of street drugs, almost fucked up my life within a weekend. Again, a story for another time. Maybe I should tell it now. No, I'll wait. I'll put a pin in that. And like, just also for the record, like I will one day tell the story of how I've fully turned around who I was back then. Like, I don't even recognize that person anymore. I was going through a lot of stuff that I wasn't handling at that time, and I was not dealing with it at that time. And then I eventually, around the age of like 22, was like, okay, I need to get my shit together. And I did a lot of work on myself to be I think I'm a pretty fucking decent human being now. Like, some of the things I did back then, I'm like, I would never do that. Of course I would have helped my mom. Like, if I could go back and change that, I would have been there for my sister more, because I know that the relationship, anything I don't like about the relationship I have with her now is 100% my fault, which is fine. It's okay, because I could fix it if it's my fault. So moving through all of that, I end up dating this guy who's like twice my age. I'm 21 years old. He's 42. I know. Don't judge me. It was a horrible time. And it was very stupid. Very, very stupid. And so that obviously doesn't end well. And this is all, by the way, back east when I'm living in upstate New York. And at that moment, I decide I want to move to California. And I come out here. And I think I was about 26 or 27. Yeah, maybe about that. When my sister decided after high school she was going to graduate and move out here because she wanted to go to makeup school. So for those of you that don't know, my sister's name is Tanya. So I'm giving you a little bit of backstory about us and the dynamic and how it is and her vibe and what she's been through leading up to now, so that when you see her, you'll know a little bit about who you're talking to and dealing with. So she comes out here and she moves in with Clark and I. Clark and I at that time are dating. And were we engaged yet? No, not yet. So she moves out here. She goes to makeup school. She stays in our apartment, and she graduates makeup school. She loves it. And she, stayed with us for a while. I think she lived with us for like 6 years. Actually, she moved with us from that apartment to a different apartment into the house we're in now, actually, still. And then right when I got pregnant with my daughter, she came to us and said she was going to get her own place. And I remember being super bummed about it. I was bummed about it at that time because she was helping us with the rent a bit. And I'm pregnant, and now she's telling me she's leaving, so I'm going to lose a chunk of money every month, and I'm pregnant. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I could see from her viewpoint, like I could look back and go like, yeah, she's like, they're going to start their family. I shouldn't be here. Like, let me be a grown up, get my own place. It all happened super fast. Like within a month, she was completely moved out into her own place. She's still in that apartment now. She got a studio and she lived her life, and she has done so well for herself work-wise. I'm super proud of her. I'm super proud of the woman that she's become. She has had horror stories with dating, some pretty good ones. Nothing like, I don't think anyway, like intensely bad, like in comparison to like, for instance, some of my dating stories and the people I've been with. But she's definitely like, she has good dating stories in terms of like first dates, things not going anywhere, guys ghosting her, which is a term now. I don't ghosting is when they just disappear, I think is the idea. And she met a guy, I want to say, 7 months ago, maybe. His name's Eric, and he's actually a 2-time Emmy Award winner, which is amazing for his editing on a documentary or docuseries. And incredible guy, super sweet. He's a rock star. He plays a guitar in a rock band. And we love him so far. I haven't seen anything crazy. I mean, the only red flag to me is that he adores my sister so much. Just kidding. No, but sorry, another sip of the tea. He does adore her, and it's wonderful. And my mom and I were just recently talking about like how we have not seen her this happy ever. It's so great. So right now, as I talk to you guys, she's in fucking Hawaii with this guy. Okay. He took her to Hawaii because he has a wedding to go to. And he took her like as part of also like her birthday gift, which was in early December, her birthday. And so he took her as like I'll get your ticket, blah, 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 whatever. And his birthday was just like the other day. So they're living it up, having a great time in Hawaii. She's sending us pictures. Today I got a picture of fucking pancakes. I'm like, what is this? Apparently, like she was like, look at what Eric ordered at this place, like pancakes with like caramelized blah blah blah. And I'm like, what? And my mom, thank God, chimed in with, send us pictures of the fucking scenery. Like, I'm like, what do you mean? I sent her a picture of a plate of fucking eggs. I was like, this is, Southern California. Also, what? Like, who gives a shit about? It doesn't matter. She just does weird shit. So we have a good time. It's a lot of fun. She's very funny. So she will be on. You kind of now understand a little bit of the dynamic. I give her a lot of shit. We joke around a lot. So if I seem like I'm being super hard on her, that's accurate. I am. And that's just our dynamic. It's how we are. She's playful and fun, and she knows that I'm joking most of the time. And when I'm not, she knows too. So yeah, so that'll be really fun. I'm super excited to have her on. And she says the craziest shit. Like, I've told her stories and she responds to the story and you're like, no, well, that's not the point. What are you talking about? Like, as an example, she just doesn't get the right thing of what happened. So I'm going to tell you a story that she's going to get so pissed off that I'm telling you right now and not while she's here. So she moves out. And after she moves out, we decided to have like a movie night one night where she came over and watched a movie with Clark and I. And we had one of those like L-shaped couches, like has a chase on the end of it. So she's laying on the chase, like, they're like, oh, like she's like this or whatever. That was a horrible look for me, by the way, but she's like leaned back on the chase. Clark and I are sitting on the couch and we're watching this movie and, and I can't tell it to you from my viewpoint. I wish actually Clark was on this episode and he could tell you, but I will tell it to you how he explained it to me like moments later. So she's sitting there and we're passing a bowl of popcorn back and we're sharing popcorn or some shit. And so my husband goes to like hand her the popcorn and he sees something slightly like off. He doesn't understand. And he thinks that it's like, because the way she's sitting, that it's her elbow, right? And so he looks for a second and he's trying to process like, what am I looking at? And then all of a sudden I hear, I don't know what's going on. I'm watching the movie. What I hear is Ton, because we call her Tanya. We call her Ton. Ton, is your tit out? So she looks down and she's like, ugh, and she like covers herself. And so she has on one of these fucking, like a man wears like a muscle shirt and I don't know, no fucking bra underneath. And it just slipped out. These guys they get away from you and it slipped out of the side. And she like folded her body like a contortionist in such embarrassment that she literally falls off the fucking couch. Now she's on the ground. And I'm like, what, guys, what is happening? She gets up and like military crawls out of the den up 2 steps into the kitchen. She can't look at any of us. I'm like, what just happened? So now the movie's fuck the movie. The movie's done. She can't confront either of us. She wants to get out of here. And the thing that comes out of her mouth, the first actual like understandable communication that comes out of this girl's mouth in that moment is, thank God I just got a spray tan. And I'm like, what? Who the fuck cares that your tits tan or not? What? That's the thing. That's the takeaway. That's what you got out of that. What do you mean? You lived with us for 6 years. There was never an accident. There was never like, whoops, someone got out of the shower and like Clark saw her or she saw Clark. Like that never happened ever. But this bitch comes over for a movie night, just free nipping it, and this guy just slips right out the side, and that's how he sees that. And the concern is, well, at least it looked good. Who gives a shit what your breast looks like? And the skin tone, I hate this girl. I can't, dude. I don't even know if I want her on. This is the kind of dumb shit she says that you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I can't. I just cannot even. You know what that makes me think of? Like dumb shit people say. All right, so let's go back to me being pregnant with my daughter circa 7 years ago or whatever, right? Okay. And so my friend Lindsay, who I talked about my last episode, she will vouch for me on this, and as will Romina when she is back and comes on the show. These guys cannot believe that this actually happens to me in real life. And it has happened to me so many times that it's like, is this rude or honest? Okay. We're going to play a little game. Rude or honest? So when I was pregnant with my daughter, I told you guys I gained 65 pounds, right? I wish I had the know-how to like, as I'm talking, you see an image of me pregnant with my daughter. I don't know how to do any of that yet. So whatever, who cares? Doesn't matter. Just visualize me looking exactly like I do right now. Because it's essentially what I look like then. Just kidding. 65 pounds overweight, big belly, pregnant. Okay, good. I work in Beverly Hills. Cool. The amount of times that people came in, I'm going to give you a sample. Woman comes in, standing at the front desk. I'm sitting in my chair, kind of like I am now. So really all you can see is my belly. You know, like I'm like, bloop, here. Okay, good. She says to me, oh, how far along are you? And I said, she goes, oh, no. She goes, wow, you must be like, what, like 8 months by now? And I'm like, oh, I'm actually 6 months. And she's like, oh, are you having twins? And I'm like, no. Now, okay, let's just pause here for a second. It's already gotten fucking weird, right? It's already gotten weird. You've already now assumed the length of the pregnancy, okay? The gestational age of the baby, and you were wrong by 2 fucking months. Okay. First problem. Second moment of complete awkwardness. Are you having twins? These are 2 things you don't do. You don't say these things. And as a woman, and by the way, I happen to know this person, she's a mom. It is bonkers to me that you would say this. But okay, we're going to continue because it gets worse. Oh, are you having twins? No. Next thing out of her mouth. Are you sure? I'm sorry. And I said, what did you say? Giving her the opportunity to backpedal. She doesn't. She goes, are you sure you're not having twins? Now, guys, it's 2000 and mother effing 16. Okay. They have technology to tell me how many babies I'm having. Okay. And I said, yeah, I'm sure there's technology for that now. And we are very certain there is one baby. She goes, wow. And I said, yeah, I guess she just has a lot of room. I'm like, okay. So that happens. Mortified. I tell Lindsay, she's like, there's no, like she's all caps texting me back, like, shut up. Who says that? Fuck her. Like, we hate this lady. Great. Fast forward, I don't know, a couple of weeks. This all happened in a consolidated time period. So obviously I must have been especially large when I was 6 months pregnant. A girl who works downstairs in the office as believe like a dental assistant, right? She comes up, she needed to borrow something from us. So she's in her scrubs and she comes up, and just like as a side note, like those of us that work in our office, like even in the building, like the people who work as employees of these doctors, we're normal people. We're not like, we don't live in Beverly Hills. We're not, you know what I'm saying? We're just like, we're normal people. So she's a normal lady. She has a kid or 2. I know she definitely has 1 kid. And she had seen me before, obviously, because she works downstairs. So I would see her in passing. She knew I was pregnant. And I normally sit up at the front desk with the office manager, And the office manager wasn't up front at the moment. I don't know. It doesn't matter where she was, because the point is that no one was up front, because in that moment I was sitting in the doctor's office because I'm also his assistant. We were going over stuff. So I'm sitting there, but I'm sitting in a way where I could see the door and I could see that she's walked in, and I know that there's no one out front. So I'm like looking, and she kind of walks farther in to see like through the doorway of where I am. And I'm like, oh, hey. So she says this to me. You guys ready for this? She goes, oh, hey, would they move you in here because you were too big for the front? I'm like, what? Again, giving her another opportunity, different person, seeing if this works on anyone. So far it hasn't. I go, what did you just say? So she goes, yeah, would they move you in here because you're too big to sit up front? And I go, and now at this point, I'm fucking done, okay? I got twins lady, and then I got this one coming in hot with this shit. This is how she comes in. No doubt asking to borrow something from our office. So I say this, I go, because I'm fucking done, dude. Like, I'm spent. I go, really? That's what you just said to me? So then she says, oh, come on, don't be like that. Like, don't do that. And I go, whoa, hang on a second. I'm not doing nothing, dude. You did that. You take responsibility for the shit that you just said, because that was not fucking, like, especially as a mom. Come on, dude. How is that supposed to make me feel? I already feel like a walking effing cow. And then you come in like that. How am I supposed to? Also, my hormones are fucking raging, dude. Like, I will take someone out with my bare goddamn hands. I don't give a shit. Okay. So whatever. She is backpedaling. She's apologizing. It doesn't matter. Then she goes, I need to borrow some shit. I don't even know what it is, because I don't know really much about dentistry, to be totally honest. I work there in a different capacity. I'm not in the back with these guys working in mouths. I have no idea what's happening. And I'm thinking like, no, go F yourself. Of course I went and got the person who could help her, and she was fine. But I was like, I don't want, what? So from that moment on, a little leery of that woman. P.S. Saw her the other day. She came up to our office to use our microwave, and I was like, oh no. It's actually what made me think of this, to go like, I want to tell that story. And she was like, hi, look at you. And I'm like, if she says like, how far along are you? And I'm not pregnant right now, I'm going to kill a bitch. So she goes, I'm like, I'm good. How are you doing? And I'm a little bit, shut off, obviously, right? I'm harboring ill feelings from way back. So she says, she's like, how are the babies? Like, what's going on? Oh my God, she must have gotten so big. I was like, she goes, you boy or girl? And I was like, now I have two. I have a 10-month-old boy and a 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old girl. And she's like, oh, wow. And I'm like, yeah, thank God she didn't see me when I was pregnant with my son. Jesus H. So that happened. Okay. Another this is, what was it? There was another pregnancy crazy thing people said to me, like crazy shit people said, but I can't remember what it was. It doesn't matter. Let's move on from that. So, I remember what it was. So my boss is Jewish, and he threw this bar mitzvah. Bar mitzvah, I think it's called. Yeah, bar mitzvah for his son. Okay. And he invited me. Okay. And it was one of the most incredible events I've ever been to. Okay. There was literally over 100 people there. I had to be like maybe 100 to 200 people there. It was beyond anything. It was the most lavish, amazing. I had so much fun. It was beautiful. At that time, I was not pregnant. My daughter was several years old, and there was a time where she was like a year old where I was like so skinny. It was incredible. And then I gained some of it back, and I wasn't looking back now. I wasn't like, I would love to have the body that I had that night. But at that time, of course, I wasn't happy with it, because that's how we are, women and people in general, right? Like you go like, oh God, I look at that picture of me. I thought I was so fat then. That was fine, actually. So it was one of those moments. And I had, like an idiot, worn a pretty form-fitting dress. I'm sure I had some level of Spanx on, or several layers. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. And I saw a friend of the doctor's there, of course, because there were people that he knew invited for his son's bar mitzvah. And I was holding like a sweater or a shawl or something over my arm, and I'm talking to this woman, and we're just catching up, and I had put like my stuff down, and I was like standing, and I'm standing, I'm not sitting or anything. And she's like, oh, how far along are you? And reaches out, her fingertips just like graze my dead inside abdomen. And I go, oh, no. There's not, the baby's out. She's a child now. She's not even a baby. Like, and she's like, oh, all right. She's like, you're just like dieting then? And I'm like, what is happening? This woman, by the way, is not drinking at all. There's no fucking excuse for this shit. Like, what are we doing? Why are women talking to women this way? Women who are mothers themselves. Were you guys just stick figure people that had like a small belly? My mom was one of these people. When she was pregnant with me, fully pregnant, you couldn't tell unless she was standing to the side and you saw like a slight bump. If she was like directly walking towards you and you're like directly in front of her, or you were like looking directly at the back of her, you had no idea this woman was pregnant. That was not me. Okay. Clearly we've been over this. So anyway, this is like shit people have said to me, like not pregnant. Like, it's just awful. So that was that. And then just to wrap it up, because there was one more recent thing that happened. I had a woman in our office who I was talking to, and she's telling me about how recently you guys got to follow this story because this is very, very, I think, hilarious and awful. She says to me, she's sharing like how she's having all these like successes lately with how she's really been able to like listen to people, and like she hasn't really been able to like do that before, and now she can like hear the person and like da 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 da. And I'm like, that's awesome. And then she's like asking how I'm doing. So she just tells me this. She tells me how she's getting better at listening to people. Cool. Okay. Put a pin in that. Don't forget about it. Now we go to my turn. She asks me how I'm doing. I tell her how I just got back from being on maternity leave. And telling her about how that is. Don't really talk too much about the baby in her defense, but I'm telling her I'm back at work and and you know how my husband's doing and everything's great and And she says in response to what I just told her, "Oh, so when do you have the baby?" and looks down at my stomach. To which I respond, "Oh, the baby's out." Because I'm confused because I don't understand. Like, you just okay. She actually caught me off guard, so I didn't have a good comeback for this. So I was like, "Oh, the baby, no, he's out. He's 4 or 5 months old. I'm back to work now, and like that because you don't do maternity leave before you have the baby." I'm very confused as to what's happening. I don't know what's going on. Okay, and she's like, "Oh yeah," and I can see she's like a little bit embarrassed, but also not really aware of how that could have just I don't even understand. So that was awful. So just like one thing after another. So I basically, the point is I got to get skinny and I got to get skinny fast, and I got to never revisit this kind of shit again. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're done. This is another reason of just the stack, okay, of reasons why we are done and I'm not having a third baby. As a matter of fact, last week in my shit show, this last week of dealing with the kids, and this one's doing fucking research, watching a movie, I'm sitting in front of the baby and he is like throwing his food or whatever he's doing. And it's cute. Doesn't matter. He's being cute. My daughter's ordering me around, and I looked at my son, my 10-month-old son, dead in his eyes. And I said, there is no way Mama's having a third kid. I could tell you that right now. It's just not going to happen. So I'm just letting everyone know we're done. There's no reason that I can't strip this body of every ounce of fat that it has on it and then just be happy there. And then we can talk about, remember that chubby girl that started that podcast? Oh my God, look how different I look now. You guys can't even see me. So anyway, that was the fucking pregnancy stories and just the dumb shit that people said to me that I have to go like, I mean, the thing is that it happens so frequently, in my opinion, that I'm like, are people just like, there can't be that many assholes. Like, I don't believe that. Like, I do believe like most people are decent, you know what I'm saying? And there's a couple of assholes sprinkled in. Did I just run into them all, during that time? Like, they all just came like I was an asshole magnet, maybe? I don't know. Maybe I was an asshole magnet. Maybe they're just like, they saw the grazing cow in the pasture and they're like, I'm going to hit this girl up with a real shitty opposite of a compliment. Anyway, okay, so a really creepy thing happened recently to me at work while I'm on the work subject. So sometimes we have patients that come in. It actually wasn't creepy. It was just fucking weird. We have patients that come in that obviously we'll get like dental work done. We're a cosmetic dental office. So we do like veneers, crowns, all this stuff. And sometimes if they have like a crazy fear of dentistry, or they have a drug history, or they just don't want to be awake, we have an option where they can go to sleep. And if they do that, they have to be picked up by someone and brought to their hotel or home or whatever. They can't drive themselves, obviously, when they wake up. So sometimes, most of the time, people come from out of town, from all over the world, different states, to come see this dentist and get this work done. And they don't have anyone with them. So there's a service that you can call, and they'll provide a nurse that will come and take care of you that night, because it's really just like the first, I don't know, like 6 to 12 hours or something. They'll stay the night and they'll be with you and fine. So we had this woman. She was great. She would come into the office, and we used her definitely 2 times, maybe more than that, but definitely twice. She became very friendly with myself and my office manager, and she would sit in the lobby while she was waiting for the patient to be woken up, maybe an hour or so before, and we would just shoot the shit. We got to know each other. Very nice lady. She reached out to us on Facebook to friend us. We accepted the friend requests. Fine. So on was it this year? I think yeah. It was this year. I turned 39, right? The last year, in 2022. And I posted this pretty long post. Like, it was a picture of me, and I was like, this is 39. And I went on to say how, like, just my journey of how, like, where I am now and how much I love who I am now and how long it's taken for me to get to that place. And this is just beautiful, heartfelt post of whatever, right? Fine. So about a month later, maybe I don't remember exactly when. Yeah, it probably was like in September or so, October. I'm open up Facebook, and I'm, scrolling through, and I see this woman, and we haven't used her in a while because we don't need her all the time. And so I haven't seen her in a minute, but I see it's her birthday, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. So I was going to respond to her post, happy birthday, but something catches my eye about the post, and I read it, and it is word for fucking word, down to emojis, my post, except instead of this is 39, it says like this is 55 or whatever it is. By the way, she's like in her 50s. So a grown ass woman is my point. Not that that's old, but she's definitely not 39. And she copy and pasted my post and made it her post. And I was like, okay. So a couple things about this. One, my first reaction is like, oh my God, that's kind of sad. She didn't really have anything to say, or maybe she saw my post and that really spoke to her and she felt the same way. But it was pretty lengthy, and it was from my heart and my journey of this and it was just very, very intimate thing to be like, that's exactly how I'm doing, So my initial reaction was like, that's so sad. Like, she didn't have anything to say, maybe. Then I was like, oh, I'm kind of flattered. Like, that's really cool. Like, she was like, she loved what I said so much. She took it. And you know what? Yeah, maybe it's shitty, but unfortunately, guys, it's the goddamn internet. People can do that. This happens to me all the time on like TikTok, Instagram. I post those language videos. I cannot tell you how many times it is literally weekly that someone tags me in someone else's video where they didn't credit my sound, or they have the entire video up on their page like it's their video. This is what it is. You report them, nothing happens. It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? People can just take things and do stuff with them. I don't care about that. So I get flattered. I'm like, cool. So I comment on the post, and I'm like, I said something to the effect of like, how I made a joke about it. I was like, this looks familiar. And I did like a little LOL emoji, and I was like, no, first I said, happy birthday. Beautiful post, looks familiar. Happy to inspire. That's what I said. Now, lucky for me, I took a screenshot, because about 5 minutes later, not only had she unfriended me, but she blocked me, so I could not find her profile at all. And I was like, what? Could she have been that embarrassed that she literally blocked me from her like, this is insane. This is a grown ass woman, right? So then I said to my office manager, I'm like, Daphne, do me a favor. You're friends with her on Facebook. See if you could search for her and find her, right? Also, what are you doing? We will never call you again. Like, you have made it so awkwardly fucking weird now. No one's calling you. So Daphne finds her, pulls her up. I think she found her. One of us found her. Somebody at the office found her, pulled her up, looked at her profile. She'd completely deleted the entire post. So there's not even a birthday post now. Like, according to whoever else goes on there, she didn't even have a birthday. She skipped her birthday that year. And I was like, oh man, like, first of all, she didn't have to do all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but also like that was her call, but fucking a little bit creepy. Do you know what I'm saying? No, am I wrong? Like that was a little bit creepy. So that was that. It was just, it's been a very interesting fucking week, number one. An interesting lifetime altogether, to be honest with you. It's been very trying. And I don't know, like I have all kinds of little nuggets like this, little stories of crazy shit that has happened to me or that I've been involved in, that I'm starting to really, like, as I do this and like as I talk to you guys, I'm like, oh my God, like I have so many good little stories of like things I can tell you guys. Clearly I have to like get my shit together on this. Do want to say that last podcast, episode 2, there was something wrong with my sound because my voice sounded like this metallic-y, tinny thing. And like 2 people called me about it. I was like, I know. And I was like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. I'm putting it up. It doesn't matter. The fucking 7 people that are going to watch this, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm a big deal. Like, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's fine. Hopefully this one doesn't sound like shit. If it does, I apologize because I'm still putting it up. But that happened. It's just been a weird, you know, like, I've had a very interesting life, like so far for my age, which I feel like I'm still, you know, pretty young to have all these stories. And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about like, my God, I have like so many cool little like nuggets of crazy shit on all over the place, like happy, sad, traumatic, but you know, you guys know I'm always going to bring jokes to it. Even if it's super serious and sad, I'm going to try to make light of it because that's how I fucking process shit. And I want to bring joy to you guys and not have you listen to fucking Debbie Downer podcast. You know what I'm saying? Who wants to hear that shit? So yeah, so fingers crossed. I continue to stay negative for COVID. Fingers crossed my daughter continues to stay negative. Fingers crossed my husband gets some fucking shit done. And, you know, I love you guys and I appreciate you. And I really, 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 really love doing this. And I'm also sorry that I talk with my hands a lot. I've hit this microphone a bunch of times. I tried to act like you guys didn't notice, but maybe you did. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I love you anyway. So until next time, I love you all so much. Thank you very, very, very much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.